Well, what the law says is that as of January 1 of 2024, that people will need to fill out the affidavit that they have one of those guns. That's really all it is. There's nobody going after anybody, but that is what the law says.
That's Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday answering my question about what he intends to do after Illinois State Police put out that statement concerning what some of you out there are calling Freedom Week, when the state was enjoined from enforcing the gun and magazine ban, and then a stay put in place on that injunction 6 days later. Good morning, Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk, and this is an issue that came up yesterday after our reporting on Friday and on Monday concerning the Illinois State Police consulting with the Illinois Attorney General's office about ideas and questions of what's going to happen to individuals who followed the court's precedent of an injunction and went to a local gun store to purchase firearms. And the state police essentially said that those firearms that were taken into possession are illegal and therefore cannot be registered come January 1st, the deadline for registration, if the law is upheld in the courts. So you had state senators take to the podium yesterday at the Capitol. You've got here State Senator Jason Plummer sharing the background and his thoughts on what exactly happened with this particular statement from Illinois State Police and what his future steps are going to be moving forward with this particular case.
We're going to talk briefly today about something that I think goes a lot deeper than maybe the headlines might realize. And that's an issue, I'm going to call it entrapment. And it's something we've seen over the years with the governor and the Attorney General of the state, where they go after, in a very punitive and vindictive way, people that they may disagree with politically. In January, as we all know, Illinois Democrats, led by the governor, passed a law that many, including judges, views a major infringement on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding gun owners across the state of Illinois. Instead of targeting the real drivers of crime, Republicans in Springfield have offered up many ideas and many pieces of legislation to bring crime down in the state. We know it's out of control. But instead of targeting the real drivers of crime, Democrats have set their sights on banning firearms that law-abiding citizens across this state own and use for things like self-defense. This blatantly unconstitutional new law was flawed from the start, and as everyone predicted, has had major challenges and major hurdles in court. On April 28th, a federal judge in the Southern District of Illinois issued a preliminary injunction against the entire law. That preliminary injunction gave an opportunity for law-abiding gun owners across the state to go out and exercise their Second Amendment rights and buy firearms. That decision by the federal judge was reversed by an appeals court judge in Chicago 6 days later. But what that means is, for that period of time, that 6 days, Illinoisans, Northern Illinois, Southern Illinois, all across the state could go to their local gun shop, they could buy a firearm, and it was an absolutely 100% lawful transaction. Upon the ruling of the federal judge in the Southern District, a lot of people, myself included, reached out to the Attorney General's office, we reached out to the Illinois State Police, we reached out to a lot of organizations to make sure that they're providing accurate guidance to the people of Illinois. We didn't get any guidance. The citizens of Illinois didn't get any guidance. All we got was a congratulatory, spike the football, two-sentence announcement from the Attorney General of the state. The Attorney General is not here to shape political narrative. The Attorney General should be here to provide legal advice to people seeking it. Unfortunately, though, the Attorney General had an opportunity to urge caution and express the consequences of what may or may not happen down the road to people that are exercising their constitutional right during that 6-day period of time, but he neglected to do it. Now, today, the Attorney General is saying that those transactions were illegal. He's saying that if you purchased those firearms during that 6-day waiting period and acquired those firearms during that 6-day waiting period, come January 2024, those firearms will be illegal. He's saying that if you went in and paid money and passed a background check, but you hadn't picked up the firearm yet, you can't go pick up that firearm even though you've already paid for it. These are really serious problems. This is, I believe, an intentional effort by the governor and the attorney general to entrap Illinoisans, law-abiding citizens, to turn them into felons, and I think it's punitive and egregious.
So again, that's State Senator Jason Plummer from Edwardsville sounding off on the background of this case, where we're at now, and his accusations that this is entrapment by the Attorney General and the governor's administration not putting out guidance when the injunction was issued, and then only waiting to put out guidance 6 days after when the stay was put in place. State Senator Terry Bryant with Jason Plummer yesterday giving a couple of examples. One is somebody, on a farm goes and buys a hunting rifle that fits into the category of, quote, assault weapons, and then finds out that this injunction was stayed and could face a charge, a criminal penalty. Again, Terry Bryant laying out that example and another example yesterday during a news conference in Springfield. Here's Terry Bryant.
However, beginning January 1, she either has to surrender it to the state police or will be in unlawful possession of the firearm. On January 1, 2024, Jane could face a Class A misdemeanor. When Gloria saw the same news segment about the preliminary injunction, she also bought a hunting rifle because a coyote keeps coming onto her property and killing the chickens in her chicken coop. She passed the background check, paid for the firearm, picked it up in the afternoon on May the 4th. Little did she know the appeals court had reversed the preliminary injunction just an hour earlier, and now she's in violation of the law. Right now, Gloria could face a Class A misdemeanor, and the gun shop could face up to a Class 3 felony. A Class A misdemeanor could mean 1 year in jail and a fine up to $2,500. Under state law, it could result in some people having their FOID card revoked, automatically disqualifying them from owning a gun in the state of Illinois. And the Attorney General failed to issue any guidance and now says these purchases already are illegal or will be on January 1. I personally contacted representatives from the state police and a representative from the Attorney General's office in that in-between time to ask for guidance for the FFLs and ask for guidance for the people that live in my district. We got zero, crickets, basically saying that they were waiting for the court to rule again. Unacceptable.
So again, Terry Bryant talking about the injunction being stayed and the real-world impacts that has on individuals who purchased those firearms during that 6-day window. Plummer taking back to the podium and some final comments here, and then we'll hear from what Governor J.B. Pritzker had to say in response to all of this. Here's Jason Plummer again.
By failing to issue legal guidance on the potential legal ramifications of these gun purchases, the governor's office and the attorney general set up this entrapment scheme, and it is chaos in parts of the state, absolute chaos. If you saw how many phone calls and emails my office was getting, you'd be shocked. Instead of living up to their responsibility to provide critical information, nonpartisan, non-political information, this is government, this isn't politics, they were more focused instead on defending their court case and putting ideology ahead of their duty to the citizens of Illinois. We have enough real crime in this state. It's out of control, and the governor and the attorney general seem to look the other way when that happens. We don't need the governor and the attorney general turning law-abiding citizens into criminals. No matter how you feel about guns, no matter how you feel about the law, no matter how you feel about some of these other issues that this touches on, what is being done today in Illinois to law-abiding citizens who are exercising their constitutional rights is absolutely shameful and deplorable. I'm in the process right now with Senator Bryant and Senator Anderson of drafting legislation to address the situation. More information will be provided very shortly on that. We're going to introduce the legislation, and this legislation is going to merely provide peace of mind to law-abiding gun owners in the state of Illinois who've been exercising their Second Amendment rights, that they will not be attacked by the state of Illinois. They will not be penalized by the state of Illinois for doing what they were told they could do by the court of law.
So again, Jason Plummer reacting to the Illinois State Police statement they provided me on Friday that the guns purchased during the injunction week are illegal and cannot be registered if the law is ultimately upheld. I asked Governor J.B. Pritzker if his administration is going to be going after people, and we'll get to that response coming up next here on WMAY. So Republicans at the State House critical of the Illinois State Police in their statements they provided me on Friday, saying that weapons and firearms and firearm attachments that were purchased during the 6-day injunction window, when the Southern District put an injunction on the state law, those firearms are illegal and cannot be registered by January 1st if the law is ultimately upheld. That's after a stay was put on the injunction after only 6 days. Governor J.B. Pritzker held a news conference yesterday on an unrelated matter, and a lot of times when that happens, it gives the media the opportunity to ask unrelated questions. I was there yesterday in his office, and I asked a question about what Republicans had to say. Here's the governor responding to Republicans and to the question I posed.
Your administration going after those who bought guns during a 6-day window of the injunction, and what's your
I asked if
response to say
his administration is going to go after them.
when that injunction was issued from your
And his response to Republicans saying that his administration entrapped.
Well, what the law says is that as of January 1 of 2024, that people will need to fill out the affidavit that they have one of those guns. That's really all it is. There's nobody going after anybody, but that is what the law says.
Somebody else asked a follow-up question.
Guidance says that if a gun was bought during that 6-day window, it is a legal hard stop January 1st, 2024.
Well, and all I'm suggesting to you is there was a law that was passed. We've got to, the law is fairly clear on the face of it, and so people need to follow that law. The fact that the Attorney General is simply telling people now what the rules are around that law, that should have been fairly evident by the virtue of the law passing. As you know, there are many gun dealers who would like to have something different in the law, but the law that passed bans assault weapons. And I want to be clear to everybody that the purpose of that law is to save lives. And we've seen just in the last 2 weeks that entire families have been killed by assault weapons. It is time to end this madness and to save our families' lives. It is to the freedom of the people of Illinois that we are addressing this law. Their freedom to be at the Highland Park parade without getting shot and killed.
So some people would say that that last part about the freedom of being able to go out in public without being shot and killed seems to be somewhat doublespeak. Others pointing out that it wasn't the firearm that kills people, it's the person behind the firearm that kills people. But I guess that's a debate for another time, which we'll obviously have all throughout the course of this ongoing situation of Illinois' gun and magazine ban. So fascinating to see these things all continue to matriculate, and we'll see exactly where this goes as you've got the ongoing litigation against Illinois' gun and magazine ban in the courts. And it's in all levels of court, including in state court, where next week the Illinois Supreme Court is going to hear oral arguments against the ban over the issue of equal protections violations allegations, saying that you can't carve out rights for some and not for others. That's in the state court. So we'll, of course, review all of those proceedings and the continued questions about conflicts of interest with 2 Supreme Court justices who got $1 million each from the governor. So we'll continue to review that. But you've got the cases also in the federal courts, all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, with the state responding, with Naperville responding, and what's going to happen with Amy Coney Barrett, the justice who has this at the U.S. Supreme Court. Is she going to move on this herself and issue an emergency injunction while the case plays out? Or is she going to go to a conference with other Supreme Court justices to have them, consult and then maybe make a decision? We'll be watching that closely as well. So there's a lot of moving pieces, as always, with this story. I appreciate everybody tuning in and making it happen. Be sure to like, subscribe, tell your friends. You can email me, bishoponair@gmail.com, and let me know your thoughts as well.